Hey there, fellow viewers. Welcome to my channel. Today, we are diving deep into the world of Pizza Tower and exploring the exciting early builds. If you're a fan of Pizza Tower and love uncovering early builds in the gaming world, you're in for a treat. Without further ado, let's get into the first public build. Oh yeah, and before I get into this video, just a little disclaimer, I am not gonna review every build, since there are way too many and I'll just go over the interesting ones. Anyway, let's continue. Alright, the first build publicly available is the early test build, and well, it's pretty early. It starts with a little disclaimer stating that this is just a little testing demo. When continuing, we get transported into the main area with some pretty familiar music. And a thing to note here is Peppino's movement. At this time, Peppino had not yet had a grab, and Peppino's dash move worked a bit differently too. And this build did already have transformations. There was the Fortnite and the Bond transformation. The level in itself isn't really much. And there is nothing else here to note in this build, so let's get over to the next build. Alright, so this build is the Pizza Tower Demo 2. This build has a title screen, the title screen music, and a nice little menu letting us start the game or change our keybinds. When starting the game, we get sent to the front of the Pizza Tower letting us try the tutorial, Ancient and Factory. The tutorial is actually a tutorial level that is still available in the files of the Steam release of Pizza Tower. The tutorial in itself isn't much, all it shows are just the moves. The Ancient level seems to be a tower-esque level skin like John Gutter, and this level actually gets to show us about the replacement for the grab attack. Instead of the grab attack, we have a slap attack to slap the enemies around and get a combo. What this level also teaches us about are the pizza coins, and these coins are used for the extra doors to buy a time attack mode. The one thing to note in this build is that this is the first time we see the noise in this room. We can see the noise throwing bombs out a window. The Ancient level ends at the top of the tower with a noise satellite that we have to destroy. After destroying it, the noise will appear and we'll press a button to start pizza time, and then we just have to get out of there. The Dactory level lets us use the cheese and Pizzabox transformation. And I don't really have much to say about this build, so let's go to the next build. The next build is the golf build, which, speaking of golf, it was originally supposed to be a joke but turned into an actual level in Pizza Tower. Now what this build has is 7 new levels: the Desert, Mansion, Factory, Sewer, Freezer, Golf, and Noise Crusher, and also a Gob area. The Desert level is obviously an early version of Oregano Desert with nothing interesting in it. The Mansion level is a scrapped level from Pizza Tower. Now I don't feel like talking about the levels in full, so I'll just quickly go over them. The Factory level has pretty much the same idea as in the Steam release with the Pizzabox transformation and the Peppabots. The Sewer level is also with the same idea, just with less enemies and less puzzles. Same with the Freezer level and Golf. Now the most interesting part is the Noise Crusher. This is the early noise boss, and well, it only has one attack: bouncing around and making Peppino into a pizza box. This boss fight is simple yet hard. And well, I don't have anything else to say again, so let's move on to the next build. This build includes 4 levels: Desert, Mansion, Sewer, and Factory. Now normally only Desert would be playable, since John would be blocking the other levels, but with some modding we can get rid of John and play the other levels, well, kind of. The 3 other levels just crash at parts and are unplayable. But none of the levels have changed much, so I guess we're gonna get to the next build. And looks like we have arrived at the Sage 2019 build, a favorite build by many. Now this build takes us to the 3 first levels of Floor 1. Pizzascape, Ancient Cheese, and Blood Sauce Dungeon. And these levels aren't that different from the levels in the Steam release. Well, obviously there are a lot of differences, but it's still pretty similar. This build also introduces us to Snick the Porcupine. Snick also actually has a few cameos in Pizza Tower. And after completing all the levels you can unclock the Snick challenge. The challenge makes you play the levels, while Snick chases you, and definitely don't act like a certain creepypasta. After completing the challenge you are given a way of playing as Snick himself. And talking about playing, as Snick Pettiness movement has also been updated and now resembles the movement like in the Steam release. Anyway, there isn't much for me to say about this build, so let's move on. Next up is Noise's Hardoween. This build lets you play as the Noise and adds a single new level, Pit Sister, which is not like the level in the final game but actually just a harder version of Pit's Escape. And there is a separate build that adds multiplayer, but since it's pretty much the same thing I won't touch on that thing. And that's pretty much it, so let's move on. Now this is the April build. It does have a hub area and which is already pretty close to the final game, with all the levels from the final game. With well visible collision. So yeah, the levels will look pretty and finished. This build also allows Noise to be playable. The levels themselves are obviously way different from the final game, but it's getting close. War also worked differently without the terminal timer, it just used a pizza time timer. And pretty much every new level is pretty early on and pretty broken, so let's move on. Looks like we have gotten into the eggplant build. Now this build is really damn close to the final release with some minor differences like different Peppino movement, level design, sound effect, and more. This build does not include any ranks yet and has no hub area, no bosses normally available. Most levels are still in pretty beta state, so to say. But now let's get to the pre-final build. This build is the October 22 build. This build is 3 months before release. And it is pretty much the entire game with just a few changes. Peppino almost has the same moveset as in the full game, some sounds are missing / changed and a few things are changed. For example, the floor 1 hub area. The Noise boss plays out a bit differently. When you beat the Noise you get the key, but Noise steals it and you have to chase him to floor 1 to steal back the key. And well, this demo doesn't have nothing else to talk about, so I guess it's time to end the video, since I don't feel like I need to add anything. And there you have it, folks. Our journey into the beta builds for Pizza Tower has come to an end. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to hit that like button, it helps me know that you guys enjoy my videos. And one more thing, uploads may become a bit less frequent due to some issues. But until next time, peace out.